Good morning, CSL Simi Valley. How you doing this morning? Boy, that was such a beautiful day. That spring in Southern California, the sunlight's so gorgeous. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit and the shifting currents. And thanks for being here. And okay, so just moments before we went on, everything went. What do you know? Literally, all the signals went down and couldn't get the restream back up. So I put us out on Facebook. So we're only on Facebook today. That means that folks that were watching on YouTube or folks that have been watching on CSL Simi Valley's website don't get to do that today. We're only coming out through Facebook. And so if you know anybody, I know that the Collinses, Cheryl and Jim watch on YouTube. I think John Sheely watches on YouTube. So maybe Kathy can call John. He can listen on the phone. I put it on his page, or maybe he can go to his Facebook page. Whatever. Help folks out this morning because we're having some shifting currents today, and that's so funny because that is today's talk: shifting currents, and already things are shifting. Woo! Talk. I will be so. Well, won't we all, it's not all about me, won't we all be so happy to be back in the sanctuary? And as the state is beginning to open up, it means that we're going to be able to open up to and come back into our building. And that's really exciting. And, it's challenging enough with this time of year to sit down in the house and watch something. The sun comes up bright and early, streaming through the windows here. It's just so gorgeous. I want to get out in the day. Even if that get out in the day means I run by and pick up my morning coffee or tea or whatever and head over to the service and hang out. That's part of getting out in spring. So I'm really excited about what's going to come for us and how that's unfolding as we look ahead into our very near future. And we're not going to forget all the folks who have been here with us during Virch. Virch is not going away. It's just Virch is going to merge with Church, which is really how this started. Church merging with virtual became Virch. Now, virtual will merge with Church, but there's already the word, Virch. We'll continue to do that because we will have streaming in the sanctuary. We're going to figure out how to maybe we'll have like the Zoom something with a monitor with all the faces of people who are in other places. I don't know how it's going to look, but it's already done in the mind of God. And so we just have to be the ones to manifest it, to let it unfold through us, as a part of us. Because that's just how this thing called life works. Everything is already present in infinity, and so it's our job to just unfold infinity by means of us. It's right here. Those of you for oneness, it's right here. Taking a nice deep breath with me again. And let's join our practitioner of the day, Reverend Maggie Earpin, for an opening treatment.
Good morning. Please join me for an opening treatment. Knowing God is all there is, and the service is so blessed, and everyone watching right here and now is perfect, whole, and complete. That God is with all of us in this beautiful, perfect day. I know this to be truth. I know that the service today makes everyone feel wonderful. And I release these words into the law, knowing they're done. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you, Maggie. And so it is. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of live things. I'm going to turn over this way. I'm right here with you, but I got a little computer right here because what I realize is that right now, I don't think that we're on the CSL Simi Valley page. So I'm going to check that and see pages. Yes, CSL Center for Spiritual Living Simi Valley. Going to that one. Come on there. Alrighty. And now, okay, so we're live on that page. Good. And we're live on Steve's page. And now one other page. I'm going to make sure that we're also live on the CSL Simi Valley community page so that we can capture as many of the people that are normally watching as would be. So that would be... Bum, 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 bum. This is, yes, this is the way it works, right? we do this as a community. All right, there. That's the community page, and and okay, we're not on the community page. Somebody who has the ability to do this, because I want to stay with you, go to your Facebook page and then share to CSL Simi Valley community page. Okay? So it's CSL Simi Community. CSL Simi Community. Share to that page so that we're there for the folks who normally would go there. And then we'll be in all the places we need to be, except YouTube. Thank you for that. Wonderful guest artist today, Laura Berman. She's been in our sanctuary. She's done a concert with Jamie and Gary Lynn Floyd. It's interesting how some people's names all go together. Angela Carroll Brown, Gary Lynn Floyd. You could just say Jamie or Lula, and sometimes Jamie Lula. But, or then there's just those one person's names like Prince or Masta. They're just one name. It's interesting how that works. For years, I was just one name, Rambo. I'm happy to have three. Reverend Stephen Rambo now. It's like fun. Okay, Laura Berman is our musical artist today. And she has sung a song, one of my favorites. And I put it in this place right here because I want this song to help set us up for Maggie, who's going to come afterward with the gap meditation. And the song, well, I'm not going to say the song. When you hear the song, you'll understand it. This song prepares you, just as all of our spiritual practices prepare us. The service prepares us. Our morning readings prepare us. Our daily meditations prepare us. Our prayer and this song prepares us to touch the hymn of the divine that resides within each and every one of us. Here's our dear friend, Laura Berman, with
Oh, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving I will be living sanctuary for you. Oh, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving I'll be living sanctuary for you. Oh, and I am your sanctuary. I am yours. And I am your sanctuary. I am yours. Oh, I am yours. I am yours. Oh, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, holy. I am tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be living sanctuary for you, for you. Oh, well, and I am your sanctuary. sanctuary. I am yours, and I am your sanctuary. I am yours. I am yours. I am yours. So prepare me to be your sanctuary. I am pure, I am holy, always tried and true. With thanksgiving, thanksgiving, I will be living. I am a living sanctuary for you. With thanksgiving, I will be living sanctuary for you.
It's that time again for the gap, the God awareness place. It's only for a minute, so close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just go within. I hope that was as good for you as it was for me. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And just remember, all you have to do is breathe, and that's a meditation in itself. Namaste.
Thank you, Maggie. Namaste to you as well. Thank you for your service to our center. Maggie's always there. When you need it, she shows up. Always can count on Maggie. Thank you so much. Wonderful. And Laura, that song and that whole experience of preparing me to be a sanctuary and getting holy, feeling tried and true with thanksgiving to be a living sanctuary, and then to dive into the gap a few moments into the God awareness place to allow the serenity of that sanctuary to come and bubble up through us. I needed it. I could have used the 3-minute one, the old 3-minute meditation. I could 10 minutes. You know what? Okay, we're going to take 10 minutes. Psych. But after service, maybe I will do another 10-minute meditation. Today's talk. I'm finally settling in a little bit. It's interesting, you set up for the service. I do a meditation. Johanna gives me a nice opening treatment, a prayer in advance of the service. I'm just like totally chill and ready to go. Was sitting there exactly that, like a minute beforehand, and so I kind of got the energy flowing. So I'm trying to bring myself back into this space, and then it hit me. Of course, everything shifted at the last minute because that's today's talk. Shifting currents. And I love this image. Look at that woman standing in front of the boat, just holding up the flag and the buffeting winds. That's what it's all about when we're dealing with the shifting currents, holding ourselves up in the buffeting winds. Currents are crazy. And interestingly enough, when I pick these images, I use a couple of sites where they have photographers offer their images for free, copyright free. And so I picked the images from there. And when I Googled current, I'm thinking I'm going to get pictures of winds and clouds and ocean and eddies and maybe rivers and flowing. And so that would be my background shot, or like that shot that I did find with the woman on the front of the bow of the boat holding on to the flag like that. But images came up of the protests from the summer, of the insurrection that happened at the Capitol, of people standing in lines for their vaccines. It came up with current events and shifting currents. I went, of course, it all goes together. This idea that change happens, that the winds of change are always blowing for us, means that yes, the current affairs of the day will be changing just like the current events in our lives will be changing. And we must prepare ourselves for those shifting currents. And that's where I find a lot of peace in the teachings of the science of mind and spirit, is that it prepares me, speaking of preparing, to be available for the shifts and the changes that take place in life. And currents are crazy. We have our own currents here locally that we watch. The Catalina eddy that's dating onshore flow that brings the low clouds onto the coastline and covers us up with mist and fog. And we're in this beautiful April right now, but coming up through May, it'll still be relatively nice until like the middle of May or so, when we get what they call the May gray, right? And then, of course, the June gloom and all of that because of the coastal Catalina eddy that brings that current, that brings that marine air on land, and it condenses into the cloud and low cloud deck that we deal with, right? Or when you're swimming in the ocean and there's those rip tides, those rip currents that pull you further away from shore. Just like in life, sometimes the rip currents of life seem to pull us further away from our operations, from what we want to do. And what do we have to do? It's like we have to prepare ourselves as we do in our spiritual practices. We have to relax. You don't fight the current, you relax. You go maybe parallel to the coastline, and then you go out of the riptide and you can go back towards your good. The same thing happens in our lives. Sometimes we have to slow down and kind of do a little I'm thinking of Neo in the Matrix. Let the bullets fly past us. The bullets of life fly past us so that we can move to the left or move to the right to get into our good, So the riptides, the eddies, the whirlpools. And we're not the only ones. We also have the Santa Anas. We know about the Santa Anas and what they can do. They clear out the sky. They whip up the canyons. They blow your yard furniture everywhere. And occasionally they kick up some dusting winds of fire that blaze through our canyons and take away people's homes and break people's lives. Talk about a shift in your life that takes place there. Or the Chinook winds that blow off of the eastern slopes of the Rockies. Or the Alberta Clipper that brings that cold air out of Canada and pushes it all the way down into Austin. We saw what happened in Austin, Texas when the Alberta Clipper came down and dropped snow almost down to the Gulf Coast. So that's the journey of winds. And we're not alone. These winds happen all over the world. Check this out. I just love this. This is called the Cape Doctor. The Cape Doctor winds that blow off the Cape Mountain in South Africa and create what they call the tablecloth. That's what those clouds are. That's cool air condensing and creating cloud bank, and it just blows through with amazing gusts, kind of like our own Santa Anas, except on steroids. And so you can see how beautiful it is. But then when you get down on street level, oh my goodness, look out. Hold on to that motorcycle, dude. What are you doing? This guy, he's like, and you see, the winds are blowing pretty steady, but then every now and then there's a gust. So you think, what's happening? Like this lady, check her out. She goes, okay, I'll just hold on to this pole. I'll let this gust pass by. Okay. Oh, come on. Just want to get across the street. Just let me get across the street. Okay, the winds died down a little bit. Wait a minute. Oh no, here comes another gust. I can't take it anymore. Oh, she's like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz getting blown away in her house. And then the Kasamazine winds in North Africa, kind of like the Habu in Arizona, that bring the desert dust across into Western Africa, an easterly wind that can turn daylight suddenly into night. The winds. The winds of change. The winds of change. We can figure out all kinds of schemes for dealing with the winds of change. You know, you saw people holding on to the post and all that, and just staying indoors, of course. And of course, we have protections against the winds. The guys put their lights on in those habus so you can be seen like in a fog. But the real story is to look at the patterns. You know, these situations, they give us an opportunity to look at patterns so that we can deal with life head on, because sometimes it's hard. We know that. Life is scary, occasionally even dangerous. As you saw, when the road gets completely covered in sand and you can't see, it becomes dangerous. When the winds are blowing that hard, it gets scary, and it's hard to go against that. And all of those are metaphors for the experiences that we have in life. So we're looking for ways to avoid it. We're looking for ways to get out of it. We're looking for ways to improve our current situation, and we're looking for answers. And sometimes folks look at the answers in cards. You know, I've got a stack of Mary cards and Serenity cards and Abraham cards and Universe cards that I read through on a regular basis. Or some people throw the runes, or look out at the stars and check their astrological charts, or read crystals. And there's anything particularly wrong with that. It's all God. You know, a very fundamental science of mind person would say, don't use any of that stuff. Well, you know what? I say to that same person, hey, when you're learning how to ride a bicycle, don't you put some training wheels on it until you can learn to balance up on two wheels? When you break your leg, don't you use crutches until you can learn to walk again? It's done unto you as you believe. If you believe that there's some support you can get from some of those things to help you, guide you through the shifting winds and currents of life, go for it. But understand that those things are okay, but there's something deeper, there's something bigger that's happening that Dr. Holmes talks about. And he says the road to freedom lies not through mysteries or occult performances, but through the intelligent use of nature's forces and laws. Yes, we can turn to all the different soothsaying ways to figure ourselves out. But really, what we do is we got to see what's happening in our currents of life. We got to take a look at what's going on. Then we can make the shift. It's like the boaters who are racing across a lake in Switzerland called Lake Leman. Probably say Lake Le Mans. And I don't know how to say lake in French, otherwise I put it together for you. But you know, the lake has about it's between the Alps and the Jura Mountains. It's high up. And as a result of that, being in those mountain passes and between two mountain ranges, there's all kinds of winds circulating all around. About 70 different kinds of winds they've identified around this lake, right? And sometimes they have these big sailboat races on this lake. And sometimes on the lake, the winds literally die down. And the racers can't get to where they're going. But the smart captains look across and they skim across the lake. See, this is what I say. You got to look and see what the patterns are. You got to see in our currents of life. You got to see at our difficulties. What's going on here? And they look out at the lake and they see ripples. And ripples. And they sail toward the ripples, because where the ripples are is where the wind is. When they get to the ripple, the sails fill and they go on and complete the race. And I was thinking about that story of the lake and just contemplating it this week and thinking about the ripples on the lake are kind of like the ripples in our life. You know, and there's sometimes in my own experience, I resist the ripples. I don't want to go toward the ripples. I don't want the friction that it causes. But the stagnation of not going toward the ripples is equally uncomfortable. Sometimes you get so uncomfortable, stagnated where you are in the stasis situation, that you do go toward the ripples, that you work toward the friction. And in actuality, friction is how we get to move. That's how your tires move on the road. It's the friction between the road and the tire that pushes you forward. So we need that. So these things, they sometimes seem so chaotic. Life seems so chaotic. But before we can find order in our lives, we must look for the ripples. Look for the pattern. Look for the changes. But it's so much easier sometimes to just live in life's comfort bubble. I know. You want the familiar. I want it. the routine, the familiar. I want to wake up in the morning and see the bright sunshine. It feels good to me. I want to see what I'm comfortable with. I want my routine. I want to get up and do my morning practices and have my chai tea and, run over to Starbucks if I have to and get my first cup before I get home for my first Zoom meeting of the day. The habits of life, right? They seem to bring some normalcy. But in truth, it's an illusion. It's a perception. But it's not guaranteed to bring us happiness or peace or joy or serenity. We're constantly searching for it. We're searching for it. We search for it in the cup of coffee. We search for it in the morning bagel. Am I hungry this morning? I'm talking a lot about food. We search for it in the new gadget or the new toy. We search for it in being the first in line at the opening of a new movie. But sometimes we're searching for this happiness, for this peace, this joy, this serenity in all the wrong places. It's like that love song, right? Searching for love in all the wrong places. Searching for peace and serenity and happiness and joy in all the wrong places. Trying to use our cleverness and our willpower to make our lives better and avoid the current shifts that are saying to us, come toward the ripples for the change. Using our consciousness, our power of connection to the divine, to deal with the shifting currents in life. Dr. Holmes says, instead of being confused by situations around us, we should be calm, tranquil, and confident that through reforming our word, we can easily change existing conditions as perpetuate them. Let's go back one more time for that. The last part. Can easily change existing conditions as perpetuate them. When the winds of change come along and life looks chaotic, it seems like you just don't know where you're going and we've lost our moorings. You're holding on, but you're holding on to the pole, but the wind is blowing you away anyway. That's when we turn to science. We turn to faith. We turn to the blending of the two. This thing called chaos theory they've talked about recently, the last 30 or 40 years. Chaos theory that looks at cigarette smoke and finds the pattern in the smoke and then can predict how the pattern works by looking at the randomness of its movement, the flapping of a flag in the wind, the cars on the freeway that seem to bunch up together and then separate in the gaps that appear between platoons of cars. That's what they call it when cars group together. They call it platooning. When the cars platoon together and there's that gap. The chaos theory has helped us to understand how patterns emerge for what seems to be disorder. When our lives seem to be in disorder, patterns will emerge as we begin to look at the shifting currents. Hermann Hesse says that chaos must be recognized, that it must be experienced before it can be converted. Dr. Holmes says we must look at the condition before we can change it. In other words, we have to look at the ripples in our life. We have to look at the riptide and assess it and experience it. Oh my God, I'm being pulled out to sea before we can convert it into our good by flowing with it, moving to the left or moving to the right so we can get back to shore. See, science is really beautiful. This idea of chaos. It feels like it's a process. See, we're in a process experience of life. We're not in a state. We're not in a state of life. We're in a process of life. We're becoming. Yes, it's about beingness, but our beingness, it's constantly becoming. The Father is forever begetting the only begotten. So shift's going to happen. No matter what. Whether it appears good or what we call bad. There's a woman named Joan Didion. It's my next book on my list to read, called A Year of Magical Thinking. Her story is compelling, and I want to hear how it turns out. It begins like this. Maybe we can all read it and figure out how it turns out together. It begins with her 39-year-old daughter in hospital, in a coma. She's there with her husband. They're distressed. It's a serious condition. They're not sure where things are going to go. They come home. They're discussing what's happening. She's in the kitchen. He's out in the living room. He's just poured himself a bourbon, and he's drinking it and talking, and she's talking, and suddenly he's not talking. And she calls to him, and she goes in, and her husband has had a heart attack. Here they are, talking about their 39-year-old daughter under a coma. She thought she would have a long life with her husband. She knew he had a heart condition, but it never dawned on her that it would happen like that. I'm not telling you the story for it to be a downer. What I'm saying is, and that's why I want to read the book and see how it comes out, because it was a year of magical thinking. Something shifted in her life for sure. The shifting currents changed her life for sure. But it began with a traumatic, tragic event. It doesn't have to be that traumatic or tragic for all of us. But there are those moments that change us. I remember years ago, I'd take a camping trip down on the beach. I took my dog with me. Just set up the tent. We'd going out for a walk. In Texas, Galveston Beach, South Padre Island, the sand is hard. You can camp out on the beach, and you can drive on the beach to the campsites which are there. And we're walking out of our campsite, and a car drove by and hit my dog and killed him. Heartbroken. Shifting currents, shifting sands, shifting life. 1 minute, joyously camping. The next minute, everything has changed. Got back to work. My coworkers were so shocked at what had happened. They got together and they found a kennel that had rescue Samoyeds. Wally and Colleen can relate to this. And a rescue Samoyed. And I got to work and there was an ad on my desk saying that there was one puppy left. And I went and got that puppy. His name was Ivan. I had him for 18 years. He was the most amazing. 18 years, a Samoyed. Lived 18 years. That's big. That's a long time for a big dog. Most amazing experience of my life that came from a shift that I could have never predicted. See, we have something within us, collectively and individually, that overcomes the ripples and the riptides of life, that helps us to move through. We must consciously use those tools, use nature's tools in finding the ripples, to find the joy, to find the peace, to find the happiness. An English historian lived in the 18th century. He believed that if you want to have liberty, you must fight for it. You must fight for liberty. And he says that, let me see here, where's that one? Here it is. It says, the winds and the waves are always on the side of the ablest navigators. When it comes to dealing with the shifting winds and the currents of life, we must become able navigators. And the start of that is taking ownership. Accepting our journey and our responsibilities for our journey, whether it's collectively or individually. In the case of Nigel and later becoming Ivan, it was a collective newsroom that took ownership of their love for me to give that opportunity. But it's also us individually taking ownership of what's happening for ourselves to move ourselves forward. To not say, if only the wind had come up, I could have won the race. If only the sail hadn't closed, I could have won the race. I coulda, woulda, shoulda, if I could. Not to let it be fate or chance or genes. You know, it's in my family genes, it's my family of origin. We know there's a power and a presence within us that allows us to overcome anything, including the things that we want to put our responsibility on, or our ownership on something else. No, we must take it on ourselves. Don't let it be Flip Wilson. Flip Wilson, yeah, the devil made me do it. Killer, no, it wasn't any of that. It's not our parents. It's not any external. We must take on to become the able navigators, to be able to read the signs, to be able to use the weather, and to help our boat and our crew move forward in life and win the race. And what is the boat? You're the boat. I'm the boat. We're all our boats. And the crew, our thoughts, our beliefs, our ways of being. Those are the ones that are traveling on our boat of life, right? Ernest Holmes says that keeping the goal in mind, refusing to be baffled or defeated with uplifted thought and calm but definite purpose, we cannot fail. Keeping the goal in mind, refusing to be baffled or defeated with uplifted thought and calm but definite purpose, we cannot fail. He is teaching us through all the science of mind teachers, the New Thought philosophers, the great way shower Jesus, are all showing us, giving us the tips. When we look at the ripples, they're there with the winds of change to lift our sails, to blow us into our good. This is how this happens. It may feel chaotic, but the forces of chaos are equaled by the forces of order. Both are always at work. Whatever is being built up is happening all the time, and things are being torn down all the time. They happen, and it's the change of life that makes life exciting. If there were not this tearing down and building up, life would be boring. If you wake up every morning, I mean, how many of you watch, Groundhog Day, or the new one that was out, Palm Springs, film that came out last year, Palm Springs. Living through the same day over and over and over again, eventually you just want to They wanted so much so to get out of it. They do all kinds of crazy things to get out of the loop of seeing the same day over and over and over again. See, the currents must shift. Our lives will become chaotic, but that's okay because the forces of order are always at work as well. And we have these tools, Dr. Holmes is telling us about, we have these tools of consciousness that we can easily change our conditions as well as perpetuate them. But we must become the able navigators reading the signs so that our boat of life can be traveling along with our crew of thoughts and beliefs into a sailing sunshine of good. This is the journey. And our shift happens in God, as God, with God, of God, because that's what we are. We are of God. We're of it. We're not with it or in it, because to be with it or to be in it is to, on a subconscious level, to agree to a bit of separation. If you're in something, you're yourself inside that. You're in your car. You're not your car. You're in your car. But if you were of your car, you would be. And our cars actually, in many ways, are becoming more of than in. Now that I think about that. You get in your car and it reads your signs. It's going to be pretty intense how they're going to be in the future. But that's not happening right now today. But that kind of chaos is coming for us. kind of chaos is coming for us. But God is the shift in our lives. These teachings are. It's interesting. It's quite a conundrum, this God conundrum that I come across all the time. Because here I'm talking about God being the shift in our life, God being the change in our life. Yet God is also the stability in our lives. God is also the unchanging in our life. God is the infinite, and infinity cannot change, for it is infinite. What is infinite going to change into? More infinity? Duh. No. But the interesting thing about infinity is there's too much in infinity to be held in time and space at one time. So there's this constant rolling over and birthing and deathing. That's what we talked about the resurrection of the Jesus story last week. There's always this constantly rolling over, birthing and deathing and rebirthing and moving and shifting and turning, and churning is taking place, this universal growth. And so it's always there, ready to happen, but sometimes it appears hidden. And it's hidden in the shifting currents of our life that seem so distasteful sometimes. It's right there in plain sight, and sometimes it shows up as strife. So when we see the chaotic patterns in our life, that's okay. Look through the chaos for the pattern. That's what scientists do. They're hidden. They're hidden in the pattern. The good is hidden in the chaos, just like the ripples in the lake, in life's lake, hold the winds that lift our sails. Rumi says it so well. This is rendered by Daniel Ladinsky, a line of Rumi, where he says, "On a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open, and the world is full of beauty." And the world is full of beauty. Today is such a day. Today is such a day where the world is filled with beauty. Go out, enjoy the beauty, and so it is. Let's have Reverend Maggie bring us the affirmation for the
I
day.
courageously raise my sails, signaling my awareness to set out on the winds of divine change.
Join me as we say it together. I courageously raise my sails, signaling my willingness to set out on the winds of divine change.
Just when I take a step outside, the rain, it catches me with no warning. Right before liftoff, what was once light and airy can't catch my breath, pour sweet canary for the weight on my body. Oh, break me, take me, climb inside. Bring me to a new divide, and I will grow to know a better me. And this time I will lift off and fly. Just when I take a step outside, all around I see the empty spaces. No matter how many times on this flight I can barely get the height. Now I want to soar with clean traces. Oh, break me, take me, climb inside. Bring me to a new divide, and I will grow to know a better me. And this time I will lift off and fly. Lift off and fly. Me and the time we made quite a pair, and it's a solo flight with the wind in my hair. There's a quiet line between me and the air, and I like it here. Yeah. Oh, I like it here. Ooh, I like it here. Oh, break me, take me, climb inside. Bring me to a new divide. Oh, break me, take me, climb
Thank you, Laura. Time now for our healing and revealing prayer. Join me in prayer as we speak this truth for each and every one of us today. As I say these words for myself, I'm saying it for each and every one of us, where I recognize there is one divine presence, one infinite spirit, one loving idea that I call God, joy, sweetness, friend, Mother, Father, the divine. What I know is true for me is true for each and every person here with us at this time, watching us on the replay, or thinking about the spiritual experience they want to have, like we're sharing today. What I know is that I am surrounded by good, and that I walk in the day of peace. That this day of peace brings me such joy as I lift my sails and fly high into my good, knowing there is a power and a presence that guides me into a richness of spirit, that wherever I look, I see the patterns upon the ripples of life that show me how to move through the riptides, through the shifting currents of change into my good. No matter what is experienced before me, I have a power and a presence within me, a conscious use of the nature's laws and forces that allow me to no longer perpetuate what I have been, but to move into where I am going. I feel an instant response is assured by my knowing that I accept my good from God now. I am encircled in the armor of truth. I am empowered by the joy of spirit. I know that I consciously avail myself of the knowledge, the presence, the willingness, the conviction, the acceptance, the movement into that which brings me joy and pleasure through richness, harmony, peace, resolution of difficulties, best use of my skills and talents. And all this that I speak in the first person for myself, I speak in the first person for each and every person here, knowing this is our truth, our good, right here, right now. In gratitude, I release to a perfect law which says, yes, yes, I am so pleased in your presence as me of me, that it is my pleasure to give you the gift, and I do so now. And so it is. That song that Laura just sang is so beautiful. Just really hits me. The lyrics were powerful. I mean, we may have to hear it a second time. But now I want to bring you a message from our treasurer of the Board of Trustees, and one of the hardest working people at our center, who's been in the background all year long, helping to hold things together and making sure that we're solid. That we're solid. I'm so grateful to Dr. Susan and to Bridget and to Gregory Seymour and the Board of Trustees, John and Darlene, and just everyone that is so willing to give of their time, in support of CSL Simi Valley, including each and every one of you for being here each week. But here, Lane Taylor, Board of Trustees.
Good morning, CSL Simi Valley. So glad to be talking with you this morning. As you know, we extended our Conscious Giving Pledge Drive into the month of April because we're using a new system and just to give everyone a chance to participate. So I wanted to take just a moment and give you a quick update on the status of our pledge drive. I'm going to share a slide with you right now, a little bit of information on it. And here it is. Currently, our 2021 pledge program, we've received 47 pledges in the amount of $115,662. Our estimated expenses for the year are going to be around $265,914. We took that number from last year's total expenses, which you can see below, because we anticipate that our budget will run very closely to what we've seen this year. It is somewhat reduced from our normal expenses, of course, since we're not open, but it still takes around the same amount to keep the center open and maintain a place for our services and our Sunday programs. When you compare this to our 2020 numbers, we had 98 conscious givers who pledged a total of 195,318. And it's really important to note that because during this time of closure, it's truly our conscious givers who have kept our center open and running. We've obtained loans and some other income, but the Conscious Giving Pledge program is really the heart and the soul and the core of what we do here at CSL. So as you can see, we are about halfway there. We're hoping that we can continue to receive your pledges so that we can fully commit to reopening this year and come back together as community in the way that we have done before. So I don't know if you recognize the background on this slide, but it is the very heart that you received in the mail. You were a conscious giver in 2020, along with this beautiful set of cards that were designed by our own Tracy Adams. We wanted to give these to our conscious givers of 2020 to thank you for your support, to encourage you to become a conscious giver again in 2021. So I hope you're enjoying our new system, the Breeze management system. And if you have any questions at all about the new process, about the center status, please contact us in the office. And I know that Dr. Susan or myself would be happy to help you. This heart is made out of seeded paper. You can plant it and grow seeds just the way your conscious giving pledge will be planted and grown as a seed in our CSL community. Thank you again for your support. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you, Lane. Wonderful. And it's easy to do. And if you have any challenges with the pledge process, talk to Dr. Susan or Lane. They're in the center. And even now, I think Dee is there with her this morning, with Dr. Susan this morning. You can call right after service. In fact, that's our Conscious Giving Pledge. If you have not signed up for the Conscious Giving program yet and want to, we're grateful to have that. If you're a visitor, a first-timer, or just kind of a regular stopping through, feeling us out, seeing if that's what you like, if something hits you today that you feel so inclined, we welcome your support of our spiritual community by donating through our website, cslcme.org/donating, or you can try that automatic system she was just talking about, which is the text the word GIVE to 805-600-5677. And again, you can call the center's office right after the service. Now, we do a prayer of affirmation, an affirmation of abundance before our giving each Sunday. And this affirmation of abundance comes from Catherine Ponder. It's lifted from Catherine Ponder. We've adjusted for CSL Simi Valley. And there's a line in there that says our prosperity is for CSL Simi Valley. And yes, it is. But I really want to encourage you to know that you are CSL Simi Valley. So when you speak about this prosperity affirmation, it's not just to support the center and its doors. It's to support you and your doors, your life, because we are all living in the one. There really is no separation. All the separations that we create are all made up. There's only the one. We need to have these distinctions so that we can talk about stuff, so we can relate and call something a chair or a floor, because otherwise we'd be like Geordi in Star Trek, and everything would just be, or the Matrix, where it just all be colors and lines. We need these distinctions in order to enjoy the experience of life. But in truth, we're all in this thing called life. So when you say this affirmation, say it for yourself. Feel it for yourself. Let it be you and your power of abundance right here and now. Love is doing its perfect work here and now. Divine love harmonizes. Divine love adjusts. Divine love prospers. Divine love foresees everything and richly provides every good thing for CSL Simi Valley now. Divine love is victorious. Make your contributions now if you like, and also enjoy this week's announcements.
Please join me with blessing our prosperity. We're so grateful for everyone that has donated to our Cessna today, and we know that we are prosperous. Everyone here is prosperous and abundant in all things in our lives. We are so grateful for the people here, for all of the things that are done to support this center and all the people that it takes to support the center. We let go and we release these words, knowing prosperity and abundance continue right here and now. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you so much. It's I was chuckling because I was listening to the prayer with Maggie and had one ear on the prayer and one eye on the comments. And Krista, that's a great thought. Yes, you're welcome for kicking you in the shift today. That's great. And as Amy says, if you don't change, you're going to always get the same. Oh, Dale, the book is The Year of Magical Thinking, and the author is Joan Didion. Year of Magical Thinking, Joan Didion. Talene, thanks for tuning in all the way from Monterey. Say hello to the walruses and the sea lions off the coast there. Kathy, thanks for getting John online. Really appreciate that. Sherry, we are affirming Linda's wholeness and have been all week long. Our Prac Corps has your prayer request involved on that. Same with you, Terry. We are knowing that your move is one that is easy and graceful. And yeah, well, Colleen, that story always touches me too. It brought me such joy. 18 years of beautiful joy. So yeah, and I'm just grateful to be able to be here with all of you. Thank you for your support, for being here, for helping to share the service in the way that you did. We'll work on getting Restream up again next week. But in the meantime, we only have a little bit of this left, and then we're going to be back in person and looking at all new ways to bring our electronic audience in with our live audience and to blend the two together to continue to be a service that is global. In fact, there are many times that we're being watched in Holland and in France and in Canada, as well as being watched right here in Southern California and across the nation. So, see, this time has shifted something for our center. Talk about chaos bringing a new order. We've definitely brought a new order to who we are. Just a quick note. There will be no Opera Virge today. We'll see you next week for Opera Virge, so just want to let you know. But we do have each week, we do provide Opera Virge, which is fellowship after our service where we connect with one another, but not this week. We won't have that. Okay? Let's see. I think that covers about everything and brings us near the end of our service, where we will close out with our benediction to say bye-bye and to hold ourselves in the spiritual truth of who we are throughout the week. You know that your practitioners are available for you anytime. Many of you know exactly how to get me. If you can't catch me any way at all, you can call the office. They always know where I am, and you can send me an email if you need to connect with me at any time during the week between now and next week. I'll see you on Oneness at 1 for those of you who tune in for that. And now, here we go. I'm at home in the heart of God. My life is anchored in truth. I can never be separate. I live in the consciousness of peace. I release all fear. I am living love. Lord Berman, take us home, will you?
From the darkest place to a higher space, calling from every direction. On every single path I have stood strong and cowered fast. What a strange perception. Well, life is demanding, but I am understanding. The best I could was where I stood for a higher good and a greater truth. Where once it was covered, now I have proof. There's a bigger I'm always getting ready on steps that are so unsteady, dancing the same old dances. Ooh, oh, I'm never really sure how to fit myself through the door. Well, it's all part of taking chances. Well, life is demanding, but I'm understanding. The best I could was where I stood for a higher good and a greater truth. Where once it was covered, oh, now I have proof. There's a bigger lesson, one I never expected, rising up from misunderstood. Well, I've seen the road at ground level, yeah, but there's a wider view at play, a much wider view, and it brings me home to revel on this fine, fine, fine day, this fine day for a higher good and a greater truth. Where once it was covered, oh, now I have proof. There's a bigger lesson, one